What if feeling disconnected is actually from years spent hiding your emotions? Suppressed emotions can feel like a broken gas gauge. On the outside, it looks like you have a full tank, but on the inside, you're actually running on fumes. Today, I want to show you how to sync your internal emotions with your external gauge so you can see what's actually happening in real time. And then I'm going to show you how to use your emotions like a roadmap to figure out where you are now, where you want to be emotionally, and how to start moving forward without getting trapped in shame. I'm going to show you the simple 5-step way to remember using the reset method and the gratitude bridge. Throughout my career as an occupational therapist working with children, a huge part of my job was observation. I observed the children's behaviors and I watched for clues. Were they overstimulated and avoiding something, or were they understimulated and looking for more input? And then I would help the parents understand what their child's behaviors were telling them so they can help them to regulate. But today, I want to show you how you can be the observer of your own body and learn how to self regulate and move up the emotional scale. And let's start with our original childhood programming. Growing up as a Gen Xer, a lot of us were raised with the idea that children should be seen and not heard. We've often heard the phrase, I'll give you something to cry about, or if you were angry, you were labeled as a bad kid or a problem child. If we pouted or made any kind of face, we were considered disrespectful. Basically, our emotions were unacceptable. And a lot of us learned how to put a happy face on. A lot of us didn't want to complain. We didn't want to ask for anything. We just didn't want to be a burden. But suppressing those big emotions takes a lot of energy. And think about holding down a beach ball underwater. It takes a lot of energy to hold it down. And the second you lose your grip on the ball, it comes right back up to the surface. So think of your emotions like that. And all the energy that we're taking with holding our emotions down, sooner or later, it's going to pop up. When we're highly stressed, we go into survival mode. We shut down, we freeze, go numb without even realizing we're doing it. And it's not a personality defect, it's a survival response. And awareness is where we begin to see the change in the pattern. And the goal is to become emotionally aware instead of holding everything down. So when somebody asks us, "How you doing?" we rarely say what's wrong. We don't want to be the one that's complaining. And sometimes we put on a brave face just to get through the day because we don't have time to even think about how we're actually feeling. And sometimes we use positive affirmations. I know I did for a long time, just to get ourselves through and cover up what we're actually feeling, especially using the law of attraction. When I heard, if you're sad or angry, you're going to draw more of that to you. So you better be high vibe and joyful. So underneath all that positivity was the unwanted emotions that were still there. So that brings me to the reset method. Step one, the first step is recognizing that something feels off. Maybe you're exhausted even though you've been sleeping. Maybe you're agitated and you don't know why. Maybe you snapped at somebody and think, where did that come from? And it's easy when you're in the middle of something stressful like driving. You're in traffic, somebody cuts you off, you're late. So there's an external factor happening right now, and that could explain why you might feel activated. But sometimes there's nothing happening. You might just be sitting there and totally stressed. So, what if your reaction doesn't match what's happening right now? And then, step two, examine the clues. And think of your body like playing charades with you, the nonverbal clues that your body is giving you. Sounds like so many syllables. What is the somatic feeling in your body? And it could be something like tightness in your chest, a rapid heartbeat, upset stomach, shakiness in your hands, tight jaw, tight shoulders, tightness in your throat. So, of course, you want to go to your doctor and rule out any kind of illness or injury. And with that said, a few years back, my father had a massive stroke, and the whole family was just completely upended with a lot of stress. So at the time, I was getting heart palpitations, and I went to the cardiologist, and they ruled out any kind of problems with my heart. And so, but I was still getting heart palpitations and pain in my chest. So my boyfriend brought me to the ER, a different hospital, because I just wanted to make sure they didn't miss anything. What my boyfriend noticed in the moment while we were there is that the monitor was behind me and that I was talking about something that was triggering me, and he was watching my heart rate go up and he was telling me what was happening. I'm glad he was there, because if he wasn't, that monitor was behind me and I wouldn't have been talking to anybody if he wasn't there, because I was actually able to see what was happening and see that my mind and my body, my mind and my heart were connected. So that brings me to level 3, or step 3. See if you can name the emotion. So seeing the emotion and naming it. And once you notice the clues, you can start naming the emotion. And once you tell your brain what the emotion is, it's very helpful because it helps isolate the emotion so the body knows how to deal with it compared to an unknown feeling. So ask yourself, is this anger, fear, sadness, grief, shame? So you can label the emotion. You're not the emotion itself. You're the person experiencing the emotion. And then ask yourself, is there something happening right now that's bringing this emotion to my attention? Or is it my mind just looping back and forth over and over again with the same topic? Or could it be something that's triggered from the past that's being stirred up? The goal is curiosity, not judgment. You're trying to understand what the emotion is connected to. And that brings me to step 4, easing your nervous system. And this is where self regulation comes into play. And yes, I said play for a reason. I like the idea of doing something important for yourself disguised as play, so you'll actually want to do it every day. So you want to pair something that's fun, outdoors, and movement. So maybe it's something like going for a walk outside, getting fresh air, box breathing, stretching, yoga, dancing, just any kind of exercising, grounding your feet in the sand or in the grass, prayer, meditation. I've been doing EFT tapping, and or something as simple as putting your hand on your chest to help ground you. There's something I've heard recently where people have said, if you want to bring yourself to the present moment, look around the room and notice a couple things that you're seeing. Ground both of your feet on the floor, put your hands on the table or desk, and take a deep breath. Another thing I've heard of recently, and I tried it and it worked. If you're feeling triggered, you can take a full deep breath. I'll describe it first and then I'll demonstrate it, because it's hard to do both. So you take a full deep breath, and at the very top, take a little bit more of a deep breath on top of that, and then exhale slower than on the inhale. So basically, if I've inhaled 4 and then that +1, I'm exhaling 6 or 7. So I'll demonstrate real quick. So the deep inhale first. I guarantee you, you do that a few times, you're going to feel a world of difference. Because I already feel really calm doing that, and I'm recording, and it usually makes me feel nervous. But anyway, um, so there are endless things you can do to self-regulate. The important thing is find something that you love doing that calms your body. Because when we're highly activated, regulation helps you to slow down enough to see what's actually happening and choose how you want to respond instead of automatically reacting. You want your body calm enough so you can decide what to do next. And that brings me to step 5, take the next step. Once you have enough perspective to respond instead of automatically reacting, you can ask, what do I want to do next? And that's where I use my emotional scale. I created a simple 1 through 10 scale to describe different levels of emotions. Level 1, for example, is despair, which feels the most dense, all the way up to level 10, which is joy, which feels the most uplifting. You don't have to label yourself perfectly, but just ask yourself, where do I feel right now on this scale? And where do I want to be? And then ask yourself, how do I start moving in that direction? Maybe you're feeling fear, despair, anger, or frustration. The goal is not to jump from 1 to 10 in one shot. It's hard to go from I feel terrible to everything's wonderful because your body's not going to believe it. The goal is to move one step at a time. It might not feel like progress when you're moving from despair towards anxiety. It's still movement. People get stuck when they get to anger. We've been so conditioned to think that anger means we're a bad person. I'd like to think of anger as trying to escape through a trap door on your way out from fear and despair and anxiety. And you need to build up enough momentum to get yourself out. Remember that anger can actually be very healthy because it can be the point where you finally recognize this situation is no longer okay with me. Something needs to change. The goal is not to lash out and stay angry or to push your anger back down and go back into despair. Once your body is regulated, you can express yourself while experiencing anger more mindfully. And then you can start communicating clearly. You can set a boundary. You can make a change. You have a right to break free from fear and despair, even if you have to pass through anger on your way out. Once you see how the levels are set up, the goal is to move from wherever you are in your current situation to where you want to be. In order to do this, I use the gratitude as a bridge. A lot of times we misuse gratitude like a band-aid. We tell ourselves, I should just be grateful, right? But if we're using gratitude to cover it up, what we're actually feeling, it's still a form of suppression. And a band-aid covers something up, but a bridge helps you get from one place to the next. Gratitude as a bridge helps you move towards the next better feeling emotion. There was a time not that long ago where I hit rock bottom due to life circumstances, and I was cycling with despair, anxiety, and anger. It's not always a straight line straight up. Sometimes you fall and you just have to just keep practicing so you can get out. So I've had a lot of practice lately, and that's why I came up with this program because it really helped me. So at the time when I was feeling despair, I would say, I'm grateful that I made it through another day. And when I was feeling afraid, I would say, I'm grateful that I'm safe in this moment. And when I was feeling angry, I said, I'm grateful that I can see that something needs to change. So you're not pretending the original emotion doesn't exist. You're acknowledging it and you're helping your nervous system to settle. And you're choosing to take the next step without shame. I think we're getting better as a society at recognizing the importance of feeling our emotions instead of suppressing them. When I babysit my granddaughters, they watch Miss Rachel, and there's a song in it about big feelings. And when I hear it, I think, wow, that's completely different than the way I grew up. But we're not toddlers anymore. We don't get to go back and start over. What we can do is develop the awareness now. And just like children learn through repetition, so do we. And we can change our patterns. Our brains are plastic. They're not technically plastic, but they can be rewired and remolded with repetition. And when you're pairing it with things that are joyful and fun, it's easier to repeat those patterns to make the new change. That's why I'm talking about self-regulation in a fun, enjoyable way to help you be healthier. Every time we recognize something is happening, examine the clues, like in charades, see what the emotion is and name it, ease our nervous systems, and then take the next step. We're practicing a new pattern. Emotions are not bad. They are information. They're not your identity. They're not a character defect. Your body gives you clues. Your emotions help you understand what may need your attention. Now remember, like the smoke alarm, the battery, when the battery needs to be replaced, it's beeping because it needs your attention. That's the way our bodies are talking to ourselves. And it's trying to get our attention so we can replace the battery. So that's what self-regulation reminds me of, replacing the batteries or recharging the batteries. If this is a kind of conversation that's helpful for you, please subscribe so you can stay connected. It's completely free and you'll be notified when I post my next video. And it helps the channel reach more people who may need to hear this message too. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye for now.